Hi, friends. My name is Eric Barnett, and I'm a singer-songwriter from Charleston, South Carolina, and you're listening to Songs of the Unsung. Songs of the Unsung is a podcast where I talk to fellow singer-songwriters about their music and their influences. On this week's episode, I have Mike Kaufman. Mike Kaufman is a fantastic fingerstyle guitar player, originally hailing from New Jersey. We talk about a lot of things on this episode, including his influences and his songwriting. But one thing I want to talk about right up front is the benefit concert he has coming up on Thursday, April 21st at Fox Music House in North Charleston. It's at 7:30 p.m. and it benefits the STAAR Ovarian Cancer Foundation. So if you're listening to that episode before that date, hope to see you there. And let's get into our conversation with Mike Kaufman. Hey, Mike, thanks for stopping by today, man.
Eric, thank you so much for having me. I know it's been kind of crazy, so I appreciate your squeezing me in a lot.
Yeah, and then I'm excited to get to know more about you. I did a little research on you. We met at the Free House showcase.
Right.
Talked a little bit, but I really didn't kind of get to know you until I was looking into your music and into, you know, the tour and the album and the show you have coming up. So I did not find a whole lot of biographical information on you online, so I didn't dig up anything too litigious.
Well, the day is young. But
a couple good resources for folks to learn about Mike and his music is MikeKaufmanmusic.com. And also there's a very good article by the Post and Courier, and I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes, about the benefit concert you have coming up on April 21st. We will get to that in a minute, but
cool.
let's hit the rewind button. Let's go back to early life.
You know, the obvious joke is I started out as a very young child. You know, now there's both of my younger brothers and I grew up with in a house full of music. My mom played classical piano. Really wanted to be able to play jazz, but she just didn't have the head for it. But she could read and was a phenomenal player. My dad played jazz, couldn't read real well, but he played jazz piano. He died when we were really young. I was 10 and the oldest of three. And so there was still always music in the house, but we were kind of left to find in our own way in a bunch of ways. My younger brother, Steve, is the first guy who ever won the National Flat-Picking Championships in Winfield 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, he's good. And he's made his living for years traveling around doing workshops on how to be a flat picker just like him.
Awesome.
Yeah. And he runs a camp every summer and has had Tommy Emmanuel and all kinds of people as teachers. So he's the real deal.
So your mother is the concert pianist, your father is the jazz pianist. How, did that work? Like, did they ever play together, or was it just two worlds?
No, they were. And again, to my knowledge, they didn't play together before we were born. So, and I only saw there was only the one piano in the house.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. we grew up in northern New Jersey, just outside New York.
Okay.
And there was a 5-foot Steinway in the house, and I thought everybody had a Steinway.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I didn't realize how how special that was.
Yeah, so. That is awesome, man. We had a very out of tune Cable Nelson, and
Yep.
you know, he had a guy come by every 6 or 7 years or so, and
whether it needed it or not,
it needed it. And usually the day after he left, you couldn't tell he had been there. And,
right.
You know how those uprights are. But what kind of music were you guys listening to in the house?
In the house, our music was like everybody's. We're children of the 50s, right? So It was the first time that I really started noticing things was the Beatles.
Yeah.
That was 62, so I was about 8 years old, 8 years old and we stayed up on it for that Ed Sullivan show.
Wow.
And saw him, And my dad, who was very much into standards and stuff, he heard he heard something special. Couldn't put his finger on it, but there was just those couple chords that they used that were different.
Yeah.
So that's when we started really listening. I got involved in my head in the big folk scare.
Okay.
Of the 60s.
Yeah.
So getting into guys like Gordon Lightfoot, like the second generation folkies.
Okay, yeah.
Tom Paxton, Peter, Paul, and Mary some, but Paul Simon for sure, John Hartford, Richie Havens, all these guys who were,
Sure.
Joni Mitchell, the poet songwriters who were just unbelievable.
Well, New York City was a big hub for that, and being that close.
Yeah. But, I was a little kid. We couldn't go,
Sure, yeah.
Shoot, I was 14 when they had Woodstock. My mom wouldn't let me go.
Okay. Yeah.
As a parent, that was the right decision.
Probably. More than likely.
Right.
But you guys were always encouraged to play music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
We were forced to take piano lessons, and after a while, when it became obvious I wasn't going to practice, So then I found my aunt gave me a guitar that she was playing. It was an old nylon string favilla.
Okay.
And that was where I learned my first Mel Bay chords. And just kind of went from there. Taught myself how to finger pick.
Did you have formal teaching, or just entirely taught out of those Mel Bay books? And
really just, once I got past reading a chord diagram, I just kind of figured out how to apply that. So.
At some point when you realize that most of the songs you're listening to have 3 or 4 chords, and you learn those, and you kind of have the keys to the kingdom at that point.
Exactly, especially if you own a capo.
Absolutely,
I spent
drag
so much
those
money
4
on
chords
capos.
up and down the neck. Yep.
And I've had every kind you could have too. Back from the rubber straps around the back there. So the old Bill Russells. Yeah.
Yep. The ones that throw everything sharp. And,
right.
Yep.
Right.
Got to retune with the capo on.
Yep. And I played 12-string for many years. My first really decent guitar was an Ovation 12-string that I bought in 1969 with bar mitzvah money, right? And I still have this. I still have it. I don't take it out much because it's kind of fragile now.
Yeah. Those 12 strings are a ticking time bomb. I mean how much pressure is that pulling up on a soundboard? Right.
Yeah. But it held tune remarkably well. And then Jim Dunlop came out with a curved capo.
Yeah.
And that life became a lot easier.
Yeah. Once they figured out, match up that fret radius, and it's going to work out. Was your brother playing at the same time?
He wasn't. He started a little bit later and started diving deep into Doc Watson.
Okay.
That's what spoke to him. And Flatt and Scruggs and Tony Rice and all the flat picking pantheon. And now he tells a story. I don't remember this story, but he tells the story that one day he was working on Black Mountain Rag, the old Doc Watson tune.
Yeah.
And he was trying to do it fingerstyle. And he says that I opened up the door and threw a flat pick across the room. And it just was bathed in a halo of light. And he caught it, and he heard the angels sing when he caught it. And I said, "That's how you do this, idiot." Now, I don't remember any of that, and I don't remember calling my brother an idia, but it's...
Well, that's a great origin story, man.
Yes, right.
Every hero has to have his origin story, and that's a great one, man. Now, was it kind of a thing where you being brothers, he was your kid brother, it wasn't cool to show him things, or for...
Well, very quickly, he became really, really good.
Okay.
Because he did this to the exclusion of everything else.
Okay.
Now, of the three of us, and my youngest brother is a college professor, okay? Of the three of us, he's the smartest. He's got the highest IQ. He's also probably the most successful, both musically and just because he's one of the few people I know who uses both halves of his brain.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
One of those people who are able to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's been, music has been very, very good to him, but that's because he's smart. And it became evident pretty quickly that the kind of musics that we were interested in were very different. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't do much beyond boom chick, which I did a lot. And then it just I said, we're not going to do that.
Sure.
And our youngest brother, Will, who, as I said, is a college professor over in the UK, is one of the world's foremost authorities on the life and work of Woody Guthrie.
Okay.
And so he tours around and does presentations where he talks and sings, and he got into playing bluegrass banjo.
Okay.
So the two of them would go off and do bluegrass stuff, and I would say, how come I'm not working?
So at some point, you went to Montclair State College in New Jersey.
Yes.
Music education.
Yes.
I know that do you still teach right now?
I teach guitar to a couple private students, but no, I'm not teaching in schools now. I'm retired now. Yeah.
Now, did you want to be a guitar instructor? Did you want to be a music educator? Like, what was your goal when you went to college?
When I was 16 in high school, I knew that I wanted to change the world through teaching music. It just came to me one day. Yeah. That was my calling. And actually, I'm a good teacher. I really am. I've learned how to get people to do stuff that they couldn't do yet, and that's a neat thing. My very first, and at Montclair State, they had no business admitting me. I should not, and I'm not joking, which is why it's funny. I got in as a tuba player. Because I auditioned as a classical guitar player, and they accepted me to the department, which was cool. But then they realized that their guitar instructor was full up, and they weren't going to bring on another teacher just for one more student. There was contractual stuff. So they said, we see on your application that you play tuba in the marching band. Would you like that to be your major? Which was, that was my first reaction too. And then I realized I would probably learn a lot more about music, and they weren't going to take away my guitars.
Right.
And so I said, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And so I learned an awful lot about music that I wouldn't have known otherwise, and met all kinds of really good people. And my first gig really was a high school band director. Yeah? I did that stuff for
cool.
years, yeah.
I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and I loved guitar. I was terrible at it. I played in high school. I played in bands where we just garage bands basically, and I could slowly read a tab that was in Guitar World and whatnot. But I really wanted to get into college to learn music recording. And Bowling Green State didn't have a recording degree, but they said, "Listen, get in the School of Music. Maybe we'll let you write a degree." And so I auditioned on guitar. And they popped this chord chart in front of me, and it had all these, I knew all the letters, but then they started having all these numbers after chords that I didn't necessarily know. And then
the flat 11s.
Right. Yeah. And then he's like, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to play something and I'm going to have you improvise it. And the pentatonic scale did not work. And so they said, well, do you play anything else? And I said, yeah, I'm a trumpet player. So I played trumpet in high school, and I was pretty good. And I could read music on trumpet. So it was similar but different situation. I got into the school as a trumpet player, and then, but at some point, you said you went from boom chick on guitar, and you obviously know a lot more these days. Was that all through personal study, or did you end up getting a tutor? Or?
No, I've never had lessons. Every time I sit with somebody to play, I learn something.
Yeah.
I always have, right? And I've been lucky to play with some people who are really, really good. So I've taken, quote unquote, lessons that way. But mostly it's just been listening to stuff and trial and error. And gee, I wonder how he did that. And
every now and then you hear a new chord and you're like,
oh yeah.
Oh, what's that chord? I learned last week, I saw somebody play the James Bond chord.
Oh,
I'll show it to you later.
Yeah,
it's so fun. See, just like that. But yeah, growing up, somebody down the hall in college knew this chord, or they do this thing, and you go see them and see something and go, oh, it didn't occur to me to do that. And then, yeah, man, I can tell, even though, teaching is your passion, learning has to be a passion too.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's all connected, right?
100%.
As musicians, and musicians is a word I don't use very often. I sometimes I get close to being a musician. No, I'm serious. I'm really serious about this. I'm a guy who plays the guitar, and I understand a lot about music.
Yeah.
But to me, a musician is somebody that implies a level of expertise that I aspire to still.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm not dead either. So. I have a song that's going to be on the album, which is called "Life's Not Over."
Okay, yeah.
And, it's this. We keep going, and the beautiful thing about this is, in teaching other people, I learn more.
Yeah.
And there's always something new, to learn and get. So
do you find that unlocking somebody's passion kind of brings it up in you too? Like when you have that student and they turn the corner,
those light bulb moments.
Yeah.
I really enjoy them. Now, I mean, we're either motivated ourselves or not, but it does motivate me to teach better when I see that happen.
Sure.
So that's a cool thing.
So started teaching, was 1972 started teaching?
I started teaching, when I was a junior in high school. I started teaching guitar lessons.
Okay.
And I worked my way through college, living at home in Montclair. So I was able to come out debt-free, which was nice because college was priced very differently back then.
Yeah.
But I taught a lot, and then went straight into teaching school from there.
Excellent. Band director.
Yep, band director in a little town called Audubon, which is
okay,
southern New Jersey, just outside of Philly.
Awesome. So you have students running around this world right now.
Oh, yeah.
that thank you for being the guy.
And some curse me too, but
absolutely, yeah. If you don't make a few mad, you're not doing it right.
Right. No, I do, and I'm in touch with many, and some have even gone on to be music teachers and performers themselves. So that's kind of cool to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where did songwriting start?
Songwriting has kind of always been there. I wasn't disciplined about it, so to take a song and really work it was not part of my experience until very recently.
Okay.
All right. But coming up, if I had an idea for a song, they usually kind of came fully formed if they were there. Mm-hmm. Right. So I was kind of haphazard about it.
Yeah.
I have some good songs from from a million years ago, but it wasn't like I got up in the morning and I went and I closed off the world and went and wrote. And that didn't happen until actually these past few months.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, a question I always ask, because part of doing this podcast is I just want to try to get a little bit of everybody's mojo, because writing a song, and it's like you said, sometimes they just show up fully formed, like you don't even have to dig. You just trip over something in the ground and then you're like, wow, that's a song. But how do you make a song appear by force or by intention? I still haven't figured that one out. So you say in the past couple months you've actually been able to sit and say, I'm going to write a song now. Well,
and I don't want to get too deep, too heavy. Part of the big thing has happened in my life. Last summer, my wife passed away from ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed and lived with it for 5 years. And I knew I needed to do something after she passed to just help deal with all of the emotion and all the crazy that was going on. And that my therapy was songwriting. And so that was, I would get up in the morning and go in the room and work on a poem. And from the poem, kind of got a rhythmic sense, and that's kind of where the music came from. Or I'd start with a chord progression. And from there was able to kind of fit words to it. And so I had these bits and pieces of things that you could pull together.
Yeah.
And it became, very much a disciplined thing every day. And it was incredibly helpful. And there are songs that will never see the light of day for which everybody will thank me. and a lot of these songs that are going to be on the CD or this collection. CD is, dates me a little bit, right?
Sure, yeah.
But what's funny is that they're not all about death and dying. In fact, most of them aren't. There's one that deals with, there's one that's called What If It's the Last Time? It comes from this, looking back at this time that Suzanne was in hospice and thinking, gee, what if this is the last time that we talk to each other? And, because I would wake up every morning. Had the hospice in the home. Wake up every morning and say, gee, is she awake? Is she alive? You know, and that was a very strange time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, part of it is I had good friends who reached out. One of them is a very fine finger picker named Raleigh Brown. I don't know if you've come across Raleigh. He was from Ohio also.
Okay.
He's in Pennsylvania now, and he had lost his wife to cancer about 7 months before. So he said, so he reached out when both of our wives were ill and was very helpful. But we've been raising my grandson, Dustin, since he was 18 months. And he's now 18 years old. He's going to head off to college in the fall, which in some ways frees me up to go off do this next project that we were talking about some. And so I couldn't fall apart.
Right.
There's a kid I needed to be present for. So
well, that was good to have.
Yeah.
To be able to at least force you to say, I have to do this. Yeah.
And part of it also is when you've got a long time debilitating disease that you're dealing with. A lot of the grieving stuff happens up front. There's still all these incredible emotions, but it's not like it's a shock. You knew it was coming.
Right.
You just don't know when, But I don't mean to get too depressing and all of this.
No, I'm a lot of the the impetus about having this podcast is to talk about the album you are in the process of making,
right?
The show that you have coming up, and also the tour that's following the show. Tell us a little bit about the new album, Old Guy, New Songs.
Old Guy, New Songs, yeah. Because that's pretty much what it is. I'm an old guy, I'm 66, too close to 67 to be comfortable, and so I'm not a young man. Now, what's interesting is I just taught a couple 82-year-old guys the other day who are interested in getting into fingerstyle and playing and stuff. So,
cool.
So I have hope that I'll still have some kind of faculty when I'm 80 something. But I'm older than I once was, in the words of Paul Simon, and younger than I'll be, and that's not unusual. So all these songs that are on this CD and this collection were really coming from the time that I was writing every day. Mm-hmm. Now, recently, I've taken that writing energy and put it into more recording and production and rehearsal and getting ready.
Sure.
And the idea is that there is an organization called STAAR, STAAROC, and STAAR stands for Survive, Thrive, Advocate, Advance Research. And then it's staaroc.org. And they fund research, into this subtype of ovarian cancer, which is very rare, that killed Suzanne. Mm-hmm. And so what we're looking to do is to raise some money to give to them that they can send off to the researchers who are doing their work. And there's some good things on the horizon, which is very cool.
Good. But
I'm calling the tour, and the tour is going to be in October, the Cancer Revenge Tour.
Okay, yeah.
All right. I don't have any illusions. I'm not going to draw thousands of people to an event, but we can get a bunch of people coming in. A bunch is good. And admission to each of the concerts is by donation, an online donation to STAAR OC. Mm-hmm. And there's a page on their website which is set up so people can donate to the concert and get a receipt that way.
And I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes, by the way. So, folks, if you are listening to this podcast, be sure you scroll down and you click on that link, and you find out more about these events and what Mike's talking about right now.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. It's also on my website as well.
Yeah.
So you can, in the links page.
Sure.
So that's where this is coming from. The CD or downloads, it'll be on Bandcamp. I'm not sure about iTunes and the others because it's hard to find people. If that, you get a little more from a download than you do from streaming, as you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a hard line to walk. It's so easy to listen to streaming.
Oh yeah.
I gotta admit, I threw a few tenths of pennies your way listening. Just because it's more convenient. Everybody has the streaming. streaming versus old school albums is definitely a thing we talk about a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm an album guy, but I stream every day for ease.
Sure.
I still stream entire albums, but yeah, it's
No, I get it.
and I would have just. Are you doing physical copies?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll do them.
Awesome.
Not a great quantity, but proceeds from that will go to STAAR.
Nice.
Or while on the tour, they'll go to buying gas.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not a profit thing at this point. Now, if it gets picked up and 1 million people buy, then we can look at
Absolutely.
making a bigger donation kind of thing. But
Awesome. Why don't you play a song off the record and then we'll talk about it a little more.
sure. This first one is called No Simple Twists. And that's an interesting story if you got a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
A buddy of mine from college is named Steve Shellmeyer. And Steve is one of the most prolific songwriters I've ever met. He's cranking stuff out every day, and he's got a studio like yours, but with all kinds of electronic gear also. And he just writes music all the time, and no one has heard of him because he doesn't care. He just writes songs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so before Suzanne passed, I was playing a lot of music every day. She was in bed, not moving and stuff, and I was playing a lot. That became my therapy. That became my way of reaching out to the universe. That became my prayer, my solace, whatever you want to words you want to use there. And most of the stuff that I played then, some of it's probably the most beautiful stuff I've ever played. I'll never hear again. I'll never know again, and that's okay. But this chord progression and this melody came out of this thing, and I said, that could be something. But I didn't have the wherewithal at the time to write words, to craft words. So I called up Steve and I said, "Listen, I got this tune. You think maybe you can put some words to it?" Because he's really good at that stuff. And he said, "Yeah, do you want it to be a big, angry, political diatribe?" I said, "No, let's do something else." So. And he's one of my oldest friends and closest friends, so he knew what was going on. So I recorded the tune, sent it off, and a couple days later he came back with 3 verses, a chorus, and he added a bridge, which was which was great. I really, really liked the 3rd verse a lot. And the 2nd verse was good, but the first really didn't fit. So I tweaked that around and kind of made it so it told more of a story. Yeah. And so that's how that song came together. So that one was cool.
Awesome, man. Let's hear it.
Sure. When we're moving down the road, we can't really see the things that lie ahead. Will the road be straight and true, full of ruts and bends, or simple twists and turns? There are no simple twists. Life goes on, no matter what I wish. I loved you in the winter, when the snow was falling. Though it's melted now, I'm still around. All life was playing tricks, a magician's sleight of hand, misdirection I can't stand. We were sailing, it was smooth, the wind was at our backs, but the clouds rolled in the sky, it turned black. There are no simple twists. Life goes on, no matter what I wish. I loved you in the springtime, when all the world was greening. Though it's summer now, I'm still around. Tears on our pillows, fears of the day. We can't look behind us. We watch and we pray, your heart and mine beating in time. are no simple twists. Life goes on, no matter what I wish. I loved you in the summer, when all the world was golden. Though it's darker now, I'm still around. Just another rutted road, we'll take you turn by turn, healing as we learn to love every hour that we spend together, hand in hand, our future bend to bend. There are no simple twists. Life goes on, no matter what I wish. I loved you in the autumn, when all the leaves were turning. Though they've fallen now, I'm still around. Though they've fallen now, I'm still around.
Awesome, man.
Thank you. I like that song. That one came together pretty well.
Yeah, if you guys couldn't pick it up just by listening, this guy can play. There's a love-hate relationship every time I see somebody that can play, because I'm jealous, and I'm like, that guy can play, damn it. But
I feel like that every day. All right, every day. You know, because what I do well.
Yeah.
Right. Or I do well at what I do. What I cannot do well is all the stuff I want to be able to do, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to play within your own wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And it slowly expands. You know, that expands into the next thing. But yeah, I'm going to cop some of those chords, I got to tell you.
Yes, please, because they're not mine. You know,
right?
That's all good. I would love to be able to improvise single lines.
Yeah.
You know, over a jazz progression or a bluegrass progression, or, you know, I mean, I can do pentatonic kind of stuff, but more craft, more of a melody on the spot. So that's something that I work at some, but I'm not good enough at it to drag that into public yet.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, man. That's as far as like, and I'm sure you sort of feel the same way. There's nothing like people that know what they're doing as far as soloing over changes and knowing that I hop into this scale over this progression and whatnot.
Right.
And then on the other hand, there's nothing like Neil Young just blasting out some just real guttural 2-note.
Yeah.
So, and part of music is knowing when to do that and knowing when to do what. So I'm more of a Neil Young blasting out 2 notes myself guy, but it doesn't mean I don't wish I could.
Well, it's, as long as they're the right 2 notes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I can show you how to finger pick. That's not hard.
Yeah. Well, I like as far as guitar playing, I'm okay with my right hand. My left hand's garbage, but I'm okay with my right hand, at least for the time being. But yeah, as far as recording this album and your other albums as well, are you a home recordist?
Well, I am for this one.
Okay.
I am for this one. I bought a used Tascam DP02.
Okay.
Which is
that's like the all-in-one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's got 2 inputs in, right, and 8 tracks.
Yeah.
So I can do and if I'm doing anything more than 8, then I'm way beyond what I need to be doing. I bought it from Mark Yampolsky, who fronts 40 Mile Detour.
Yeah.
You know?
Hi, Mark.
And the learning curve for that, just that part, you know, has added to an awful lot of repetition.
Yeah.
That, did I really hit the microphone when I that kind of stuff.
Like you got the good take, but you didn't get
right.
Oh, man.
Or the dog barked, or I was sitting down and some guy turned on the lawnmower. You know, I mean, it's just like,
oh yeah.
So
yeah, I fight that every time I sit down and do this podcast, or I go back to edit it and do the voiceover later. Saturday, I had people driving down the street on dirt bikes. Our neighbor had a rooster at one point. and that's part of it, man. Sometimes you leave that stuff in, and it's...
Oh, yeah. Now I've listened to your stuff also.
Yeah?
All right, yeah, and it's nice, and it's clean, and it's well-produced.
Well, I appreciate that, but...
and it's good music, too. You know, I mean...
well, thank you.
And I saw your thing up at Awandagh Green, and...
yeah.
So I've seen...
Yeah, I'm in a state of constant learning. It's all figuring out, like... A lot of it's knowing where you want to be, and you kind of figure out as you go where you want to be, and you know what direction to steer the ship in. Do you feel like, the tracks you sent me a couple tracks off this upcoming record. They sound good, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Some of that's dumb luck, and some of it is, it's all intentional, but some of it, it worked, and that's it. I'm keeping it. That's fine. I'm not going to change it.
Yeah.
So,
the other records.
Now, the others, yeah. The
Carolina Life is who recorded that?
My buddy Steve Shellmeyer.
Okay.
These are all. Now, that came from a time when Suzanne and Dustin were here, right? 10 years ago, I guess, right? Yeah, because we wanted to get him into the schools here.
Okay.
Let me take a step back, because this is funny. Suzanne asked me one day when I was when we were in our 50s. She said, "What would you think about retiring to Charleston?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, fine." She said, "Oh, good, I found a house." And I said, "I can't do this, So, but
it was okay when it was a theory,
right? But I was still working, and I knew, I needed to stay in New Jersey long enough to get a pension and those kinds of things, right? But we knew that once we made the move. We talked to some people down here, and they said, if you're going to come and you have Dustin, you really should try and get into Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Because that's, where the schools, et cetera. So we said, okay. And we found the last 4-bedroom house in Mount Pleasant that was under $300,000 at the time.
What year was that?
Yeah, right. I know. That was, 20... What year is this? 22? So that was probably 2015 or so?
Yeah.
13? Yeah,
right.
13.
Okay.
2013. And so Suzanne and Dustin came down here, and I lived in Steve's basement.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
And since I was there and my family was here, I had a lot of time to write. So a lot of those songs, came from that time. And again, I was able to be a little more disciplined. And Steve was very gracious and recorded them. And so we put together the CD. I'm pleased with a lot of that one. I also did a collection of instrumental hymn tunes, fingerstyle hymn tunes.
Yeah, hymns from the living room. I listened to a little bit of that on Bandcamp as well. Yeah,
and I'm happy with those, with the way they came out. And they were done at his house as well. So I got
very nice. Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and that's this Mcpherson that.
Yeah. I was telling him when we were miking that guitar up that, I kind of just tossed a mic up in the room and pushed the fader up, and all of a sudden a really good guitar came through the headphones, and I was like, man, I'm pretty sure with that guitar, if you put a microphone in the same zip code, it's going to sound great. And that's a terrific guitar.
Thank you. I didn't build it. It's an amazing guitar. There's this little company out in Wisconsin called Mcpherson Guitars, and you'll see them a lot with country musicians. Vince Gill and Amy Grant have matching Mcphersons.
Okay.
Brad Paisley's got them, and you'll see them a lot on the Opry shows. And it's mostly a custom shop. But they had some that they had kind of made to spec, and I found this one at a shop in New York called Mandolin Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
Which unfortunately is long gone, but it was an incredible place. Like when James Taylor was in New York, he would stop at Mandolin Brothers and play the Olsons,
Okay, yeah.
And that's where Chris Taylor got his mandolin after he got his MacArthur Genius grant.
Yeah. What, the $1 million mandolin? Yeah.
Exactly.
I always tell myself one day, like, I will have earned the right to buy myself that guitar, not your particular, but that in quotes.
I can put you in this guitar today if you'd like.
No, not that particular guitar. No, but like one day, like what my retirement gift to myself will be a guitar that cost more than a car I've owned at some point. But
Yeah, well, this was a really bad car. Yeah, this would cost more than that. But
well, all my guitars cost more than my first car.
yeah, me too. Me too.
So yeah, so we talked a little bit about streaming and Spotify and Apple Music and such. So Carolina Life is available on Apple Music.
Yeah, and on iTunes. My very first album, which is called Bluebird's Wing, was, I mean, at the time that was the thing. You know, I worked to have the discs pressed and made with a company called Disc Makers up in New Jersey.
Yep, I've done Disc Makers. Yeah,
good folks.
Yeah,
and part of their package is, do you want to have distribution? And you say sure, why not? You know, and so that was part of that. So yeah, Carolina Life is available that way. Hymns from the Living Room is not, but you can get that on Bandcamp.
Yep.
And the first one was called Bluebird's Wing. There are some tunes on that are cover tunes, and I don't want to get it back in. And I had worked out licensing arrangements for the first time round, but I don't want to go through all that again. So what I will probably do is put the originals and traditionals that are on that album up on Bandcamp as well.
Okay.
Because there's some good ones there.
Very good. Yeah. When you listen to music, what do you find yourself? What's your format? How are you listening to music day to day?
What I still will buy a download. Typically from iTunes, because that's the easiest for me. You know, it's path of least resistance. And so I'll download it so I can listen to it across all the devices.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'll plug in my phone in the car and listen there. And usually what I do in my iTunes account, gosh, I've got almost 8,000 songs of all kinds of genres, of jazz and classical and world music and all the good folky stuff. And Suzanne had a whole bunch of rock and roll stuff. So there's all kinds of things there that I listen to.
She was a rock and roller?
She knew the words to every pop song ever written.
Nice.
She knew all the lyrics, right? She didn't know who they were necessarily, but she knew the lyrics. So she kept me on my toes a lot. She tolerated my stuff. Supported me.
That's the most important thing, is just having something to put up with a musician.
Oh gosh.
Come on. Like my wife lets me have the biggest room in the house and fill it with guitars and that's not nothing. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, this other song that I'm going to do is called My Favorite Complication. You know, the easiest way to complicate your life is to fall in love with somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, it is.
So I always threatened I would write this song because I used to call Suzanne my favorite kind. This whole thing of coming to Charleston was a big complication, right?
Oh, sure.
Right? But that's so I always, and some other things. We one day she said, I want to get a travel trailer, and we've taken a couple cross country trips. We were talking about yours a little bit.
Yeah, very cool.
And that was cool, but it was complicated.
Yeah.
So my favorite complication is, and she was a Sam Cooke fan.
Okay.
So this song, when we do it, we'll have a Sam Cooke kind of vibe to it.
Awesome. Why don't we hear that one?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, My Favorite Complication.
Yeah.
You're my favorite complication. I want the world to know. My favorite complication. I'll never let you go. I was happy in my loneliness till your love light came to shine. You're my favorite complication, and you're mine. Well, my life was pretty simple, putting my heart up on the shelf. I lived just the way I wanted, answered only to myself. But you came along and brought a song that turned my world around. You're my favorite complication, and you're mine. You're my favorite complication, and I want the world to know. My favorite complication, and I love you so. I was happy in my loneliness till your love light came to shine. You're my favorite complication, and you're mine. Whoops. Ever since the day I met you, well, I knew that I just had to let you in. You blew up my world, blew up my heart, and yes, I'd do it all again. You're my favorite complication, and I want the world to know. You're my favorite complication, and I loved you so. I was happy in my loneliness till your love light came to shine. You're my favorite complication. You're my favorite complication. Oh, 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 my favorite complication, and you're mine.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, that one I felt pretty good about, you know.
Yeah, and I like sometimes when people come in here and they record some songs, they get real uptight about like, oh, I feel like there was like a little flub here, a little whatnot. But I'm like, man, this is a podcast. Like we don't. If this were going out live on the radio, it would be what it be. So
right, and that, and I do appreciate that about playing live. Last night I played down at Chico Feo at George Fox's thing.
Yeah,
I like the vibe of that open mic.
I do. Yeah, I like it as well. I just get up at 5:30 every day.
Right, so. I understand. I do understand. And last night, who all got up? Pernell McDaniel. Mm-hmm. I followed him. A guy from Somerville named Dave Perry, who you may or may not know, and a couple other guys. And we were all chatting. Oh, we all had the worst night. It was, I forgot things that I knew, that I'd been practicing that afternoon,
Wow.
So it was
okay,
I never touched the guitar. So yeah, that's all part of the fun,
Well, you said right afterward, you're like, well, I got it right on the album. So that's the important thing.
Well, yeah. And that's, part of what we talked on that song on this album. I've got, the Mcpherson, the lead vocal. There are two harmony vocals singing doo-wop harmony.
Nice.
Yeah, it mostly worked. And and a couple spots where the guitar lead in the middle, I was able to actually overdub.
Yeah,
just patch in and out.
Yeah.
So that came out really, really well because I wasn't trying to do everything at the same moment. So yeah,
well,
it was
carrying
better.
all that. I to be able to do all that, I aspire to that. So very nice, man.
Well, thank you.
So stylistically on guitar, have you always been more fingerstyle forward? I know your brother is kind of the flat picking guy.
Yeah, he is. And I always kind of leaned towards the fingerstyle stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. But once he started really coming into his own, it was like, why bother?
Yeah, I better do a different thing or else I'm just going to get lost. Yeah.
Right. Now, in Tony Rice's house, both Tony and his brother Wyatt were incredible flat pickers.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just not the way it went at our house. Now, I've always done the fingerstyle stuff.
Now, was it always thumb pick? I noticed you had a thumb pick and a couple finger picks as well.
I use 3 fingers in my thumb.
Uh-huh.
Started with 2 fingers in my thumb and made a concerted effort when I was 14 years old to try and figure out how to add in my third finger.
Yeah, yeah.
There are a couple of strongly held, almost religious convictions about finger picking.
Yeah.
Right? Some guys, Tommy Emmanuel, for example, says you have to put your pinky on the face of the guitar.
Yep.
I can't do that. That I find, and I'm not going to argue with Tommy, but I find that adds strain to my right hand when I'm playing.
Yeah.
So now it gives him a little more punch, but I think I have a little pinky. He may have a longer pinky than I do, And I've dabbled with classical guitar stuff some, and you don't anchor your pinky in classical technique.
Okay.
It's a different position. The toughest thing and the most important thing about fingerstyle is the independence and coordination of your thumb and your fingers. Your thumb is actually playing a bass line.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a boom, 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 while your fingers are doing other stuff. Sometimes it's more of a walking bass kind of thing. And so keeping those things going together. I came up, as I said, playing 12-string. So I found I had a very busy thumb, playing fingerstyle 12, and I had a very busy thumb because the bass strings on the 12 have an octave string above them.
Yeah.
So it's not just this. So now if I'm playing the 6, which I do primarily, I need to kind of adjust how much work my thumb does because it can get muddy and overshadow the fingers.
Sure.
So I got to hold back on that some.
Now, practice with a metronome, is that...
Not my favorite thing to do, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, your timing is very, very good.
Oh, thanks.
And actually, I was listening to your record, and I said I need to look at his right hand when he gets here because I didn't know you'd played with the finger picks.
Yeah.
And there's different schools of thought. There are finger pickers, and then there's the people that have the very immaculately kept fingernails. And I can't. I'm a chewer. I'm a biter, I work with my hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There was a time before I moved down here when I was gigging a lot because there were places, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I knew I had a lot of gigs coming, I would actually go to the salon and have them do gel nails on my right thumb and the 3 fingers on my right hand.
Wow.
And because I like that better. The reason I like picks, and I've tried everything. All right. Just like all the finger pickers. I've tried plastic picks, metal picks. I now use these metal picks that have cutouts right over the pads of my fingers so I can kind of make some contact with the string and feel it.
Yeah.
But I used the gel nails for a time, and the frustration was I couldn't do anything else.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
But I do like the sound of fingernails more. What I like about either using your nail or a pick is that it gives a definite attack on the string. You can hear where it begins, especially if you're playing with other people.
Yeah.
If I'm by myself, it's not as necessary. But I like the definition to the beginning of the note.
I play incredibly rudimentary fingerstyle, but I'm a nail biter.
Yeah, me too.
And also, I've tried the thumb picks and the finger picks, and it adds just the distance from my finger to the end of whatever implement's on it is a distance that I can't become accustomed to.
Yeah.
And it's become to the point where, at least for my own, and we talk about you develop your own style and you get in your own wheelhouse, and sometimes you limit yourself in certain ways, which I've done, is I've just decided it's going to be the pad of my finger, the pad of my thumb. And actually, I had a weird thing happen at work where I gouged out part of my thumb on a saw, and there was like 2 months where I could hit the notes, I was hitting all the notes, but somehow that little part that was missing out of that little pad of my thumb was not getting me the strength in my bass line. I was like, I got to play with a pick I had gigs, and I was like, I just got to play songs that have a pick for 2 months. And it's I can't imagine having to walk around with those manicured nails. And I don't know how like the real high dollar classical musicians do it. They got to like wear a gauntlet over that hand.
Pretty much. Al Pettaway out in Asheville incredible fingerstyle player. You know, I mean, he's always really careful about
Really?
it, you know. Tony McManus is perhaps one of the greatest Celtic fingerstyle players on the planet. And I've been lucky enough to sit with him and play with him. And he tells a story about, he also uses artificial nails. And he tells the story of walking into the salons while he's on tour, and he says, you know, do these 4 nails for me, please. And he puts his other hand behind his back, and because they don't get it, you know.
Right.
And they said, do you want a pedicure? And Tony says, I don't know. Will it help my playing any? You know?
Who are your main guitar guys?
Again, probably James Taylor. I listen to the fingerstyle guys. You know.
Okay.
He also works with his nails exclusively.
Yeah.
And even has a video on his website about how he cares for his nails.
Really?
Yeah. Artificial. You know, a lot of his stuff. Tommy Emmanuel, of course. You know, I mean, I listen to be humbled.
Yeah.
I listened to Tony McManus, the guy I just mentioned, who was just a beautiful, beautiful player. Pete Huttlinger was another fingerstyle guy who passed away a few years ago from some heart problems. He toured a lot with a pump that he would wear in a bag outside his that kept his heart going.
Oh, wow.
It was the strangest thing. But he did an album called Fingerpicking Wonder, which is all fingerstyle arrangements of Stevie Wonder tunes.
Very cool.
And particularly Superstition.
That's what I was already hearing in my head. That Clavinova bass line on a... Yeah.
Yep. And so he had that going, and he had the melody, and he even figured out some way to get all the horn buttons in.
Wow.
I mean, so if you have not heard Pete Huttlinger play Superstition, there's several YouTube videos you need to see.
Excellent. I'll put that on the list. So how far along are you in the album process?
I'm about halfway through.
Halfway, yep.
So I've got 5 songs done, and they will be, by the way, you mentioned, I am doing a concert in Charleston on the 21st of April, and there'll be a CD of those 5, an EP.
EP, yep.
Of those 5 ready to go. And in fact, they're printed already.
Nice.
I'll probably also have those 5 up on Bandcamp and just kind of add songs as they get done to the collection.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about the concert coming up. Yeah,
the concert is a cool thing. I couple days a week, couple afternoons a week, I work at Fox Music over in North Charleston. Fox Music is probably the largest piano showroom in the Southeast. And they're one of the larger Yamaha grand piano dealers in the country. Great family. They've had this music store business since 1928 in various locations around Charleston. And so they're on Dorchester Road in North Charleston. One of the things they have is this area that they've carved out to be a listening space.
Wow.
So so it's cool. You know, there are not many listening rooms for us.
There are not.
You know, I mean, there's Forte, but you know, he's got his own kind of genre set. But maybe we can talk to Joe about doing songwriter nights over there too.
Yeah.
But so at Fox there is this kind of almost, they call it a recital hall.
Okay.
But it's a nice stage space, killer PA, incredible PA.
Wow.
And so Joseph Fox, I said, can we put together a concert and do this kind of thing? And he said, yeah, no worries, of course. They've been great about supporting this.
Excellent.
So this is one where admission will be by donation to staroc.org. And hopefully I think we could get maybe 3 people, who could.
What's the capacity?
Capacity is probably about 100.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So 7:30?
7:30 on April 21st.
Any opener?
No, because it's a weeknight, so I want to get people out, right?
That is such a beautiful notion.
7:30 to 9, because we all got to get up for work.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who get up at 5:30.
Right. Excellent. So, like I said, I will put links to the STAAR organization in the show notes. I'm also going to make sure I try to turn this episode around quick enough that we can get people finding out about this, and I'll post about the event.
Thank you, if you can.
And
if you can't, we are doing this thing in October now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell me about that.
Yeah. I wanted to do, now that Dustin is going off to college in the fall, he's going to go to Embry-Riddle in Florida and hopefully become an engineer and support me in the manner to which I'd like to become accustomed, right?
Sure, yes. I long to be a kept man one day.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please. That would be fine.
Yeah.
But you stand a way better chance than I do. Let's just say that.
Never know.
I figured that in the fall and before winter comes, I want to try and hit some northern states because I don't want to mess with snow and ice and sleet and all those things that we don't miss.
Right.
So I started casting out to some friends, and there was one group in particular in New Jersey that I wanted to get. They're called the South Jersey Acoustic Roots Music Society. They meet once a month, and on the second Monday of the month, and I helped found the group, which was fun when I was up there. This is 10 years ago now, 11 years ago now. And they were very kind and said, well, if you'd like to, in our October meeting, which is the second Monday in October, you can come do the concert there.
Nice.
So that's way cool. So then I had that set, and then I started booking around it. And I had some friends in Massachusetts who said, why don't you come do this, this concert series over here? And then a guitar shop just outside New Bedford said, we've got a space and we'll stream it as well. And have some friends in Newport who, in Rhode Island, who said, you can use our church hall.
Nice.
So this thing has just really come together. So I got 2 weeks in October, 7 shows.
Well, very cool.
Yeah, between New England and then New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So it'll be.
That's awesome, man.
And if that works right, we'll look at doing another series down here, in the house concerts and such.
Very cool.
Yeah, should be fun. I worry about COVID a little bit,
Sure. Yeah.
Up north, they're starting to have, cases are starting to uptick a little bit.
Yeah.
But, so, all you can do is
play it by ear.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Like I said, I'm gonna put links to all that in the notes and make sure we're following you on that. I hope you'll be
we'll be posting and stuff. Yeah. And all those dates are on the calendar page on my.
Nice.
It's funny when we first moved down here. My thought was I'd have my pension. I wasn't old enough for Social Security yet, but I would pick up some students, get some gigs, so I put together this web page, right? And website, pardon me. And I built it in Wix, and it was pretty and it's nice, right? And it didn't nothing materialized because part of the thought also was I would supplement my pension by substitute teaching.
Yeah.
Right? So I get this long-term sub-gig first, right out of the box, as a music teacher in an elementary school in North Charleston. So, it became a full-time gig with benefits. So I didn't need to do all the chase around after guitar students and stuff.
Right, yeah.
So the website kind of went away.
Yeah.
Until we started making this plan for the concerts and the CDs and stuff, and then I needed some kind of real presence again. So we just of brought it out of mothballs. And
time to drag that out and dust it off, and
added the calendar page and the press page and all these things that weren't there before. So
yeah. At some point you start looking at it and you go, this seems like it's a real thing.
It's very weird. It's very weird, and you talk about, I've got a tour in the fall. It's like, what? It just sounds so pretentious, Then
when COVID was going on, you're like, is this going to be a thing ever again? And,
right.
Very nice. And fingers crossed, hopefully everybody can play nice and figure out how to do this thing in a healthy and safe way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be nice about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
I know.
the very lowest effort of human decency,
Right. I saw Janice Ian had a post on her page yesterday that said, her Facebook page, it said, even if we don't agree on anything, we can still be kind.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
100%.
we've lost the ability to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And to learn. Like Pernell McDaniel, right? He and I see the world through an entirely different perspective. Mm-hmm. Right? But one of the songs that are on this album is one of his, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's a beautiful song called Seed You Sow that he recorded, or hasn't recorded yet, but he's given me permission to record it. Mm-hmm. That came out, factually, that happened today. And he is very conservative. Mm-hmm. I'm not. But I think most of us, there's a lot of stuff in the middle that we really all agree on.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And we're unrepresented.
Right.
Visibly.
We're the non-vocal majority.
Well, it used to be the silent majority, but that was...
yeah. Well...
I don't know. So anyhow, yes, I'm just hoping that we're all smart about this stuff and
Excellent.
it just all goes, yeah.
So songwriting, let's crack open a little bit more into songwriting.
Sometimes it's easy.
Oh, sometimes it's very easy. Do you demo stuff or do you pull out the...
Oh yeah. What I usually do is if I've got something going, I'll sit in front of my computer and just video it.
Okay.
So I can see my chords and see, right? You know.
Yeah.
And then so I've got a bunch of those files that are actually I need to look at again because there might be something there. You know?
Yeah.
And then separately from that, I keep tabs open for lyric ideas. Mm-hmm. And so I start working on those. And then usually one thing leads to another. You know, either I've got enough of a song form going that music kind of suggests itself. Sam Ray is another local newly local songwriter who is touring out now, and she inspired me a lot to up my poetry game.
Okay.
As I listened to her stuff, you know, so I started working on some particular things, and one of those will be on the CD also. You know.
Now, when you start writing songs, do you hear full arrangements in your head when you start? Do you start to build this inside your head, or is it something where when you sit to record it, you're like, well, I'll see what I can tinker with at that point?
Usually there's an idea. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a production kind of idea. What's the vibe? I mean, the two songs that you heard were very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, two songs we did today were very different. And so they each came with an idea. No Simple Twists, the first one on the album, has, I added bass and a harmonica solo. Mm-hmm. I don't play harp out very often, and you'll hear why. But this other one was absolutely a doo-wop kind of song.
Yeah.
You know, Sam Cooke
kind
of song. And so I've got another one that's called Let Me Be Your Rebound, which is a kind of 50s standard kind of tune. And others that are more straight ahead folky kind of stuff.
Now, do you actually, when you begin to write a song and it starts to develop, do you think of particular songwriters where you're like, I'm going to sort of try to channel a James Taylor this direction, or a...
Not too often, because, you know, you don't
want to put it in a box. And,
though James Taylor is a huge influence on my playing and on my approach to music. I think he was one of those I'm a huge
You know,
fan.
when I hear your songs and your style, I'm reminded a lot of like 70s singer-songwriters.
Well, that's my age, right?
Your Taylors, your Croces, your Fogelbergs.
Yep.
And
those are all the guys. Yeah.
Man, that's what I dig. I dig on it. It's, in fact, when, I was listening to Carolina Life, and until you started actually talking about apps and computers and stuff around track 4 or 5-ish, I was like, if somebody would have put this on and said, oh, I found this is a long lost thing from 1978.
Well,
I could have believed that. And that's not a put down, and that's a compliment as far as I'm concerned.
I'll take it to mean thank you.
Who are your main songwriters that you look up to?
Well, it's got to be James Taylor.
Yeah.
At the top. His brother Livingston also is phenomenal.
Okay.
And he was more of an influence on that Rebound song.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
those chords and stuff. Carole King, obviously. I mean, all these 70s folks. Dan Fogelberg, as you mentioned, Joni Mitchell. Hearing Judy Collins sing a lot of other people's stuff. Right. Gordon Lightfoot was a profound influence. John Hartford. Those are all the albums I would buy as soon as they came out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are there any songs of other people where you say like that song is the pinnacle of songwriting? They in that 3 or 4 minutes they really did it.
Secret of Life, James Taylor is one. The Dutchman by Mike Smith is another. Mr. Bojangles by Jerry Jeff Walker, one of my favorite songs of all time. I have 4 favorite songs. Secret of Life and Streets of London by Ralph McTell.
I do not know that one. I have to look that one up.
Oh, you need to hear that one if you haven't.
I will. Awesome. Are there any albums that you're like, I've got 40 minutes. I'm in a certain mood. I want to hear an album that I've listened to 1,000 times and I want to hear it again. Are there albums that your go-tos?
Probably, if I'm doing that, it's more instrumental stuff like David Grisman, or more bossa nova, Stan Getz stuff. It's that tends to be more instrumental.
Okay.
Most of the way I'm listening to music these days is I put those 8,000 songs on shuffle.
Okay. Yeah.
And just stream my own collection that way.
Sure.
And if it comes up to something I don't want to listen to, like a Christmas song comes up and it's not Christmas, I just hit, next.
Yeah. So awesome, man. I'm looking forward to the concert on April 21st. It is a beautiful thing that you are doing to celebrate the life of your wife.
Yeah, thanks.
And what you're doing for the cause. And thank you so much for stopping by. It was great to get to know you.
It's nice to spend time with you, Eric. Thank you, man.
Yeah, folks, go check out Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mike Kaufman. I'm looking forward to hearing that album when it comes out, and I'm going to go to the show this Thursday at Fox Music Center. Best of luck to him on the tour in October, and I hope he can raise a lot of money for that organization. Be sure you check the links in the show notes for everything that we talked about during this conversation. As always, thank you so much for listening to Songs of the Unsung. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Always love getting those clicks. There's really good videos from the past showcases up there. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.